Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. On The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. I have a big guest tonight. He's the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, which is in charge of raising money from taxes for the government. Anthony Sarpong will join us to talk about his 15-month tenure and also the angst that a new AI-powered system has brought to port users, particularly freight forwarders, who are unhappy with the system. Stay with us.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here, for now. Now, I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What? JJ.
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief, fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Every dream starts with a prayer. And every prayer ends with a promise. At Blue Financial Services, it is our passion to make you smile, to show you that your smallest deposits can lead to major financial wealth. From the early days, taking that first big step, to the days of joyous maturity, we will be with you. Visit our branch today for a better future tomorrow and trust in Blue Financial Services.
Welcome back. So tonight we're talking to Anthony Sarpong, who's the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And good evening.
Good evening, Bernard.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and good evening to your listeners and viewers as
Wonderful.
well.
You were given this job in January? Or is it
January 2025.
Oh, the first appointment. So you've done
Very early.
15 months.
Yes.
Wow. How has it been?
Well, it's a hot seat. The reason is that revenue is a lifeblood of the nation. So every day you have to be on your toes, making sure that the revenues are coming to support our national development.
How different was what you saw from what you thought you knew about GRA when you went there?
So actually, from outside view, we always looked at what one can do to actually enhance our revenue. But of course, when we are on the seat and we are doing it, it's different from when we are looking from outside view. But one key thing I've learned from the public sector is that it's also very hierarchical. But at the same time, when you keep focus, there are very good materials that you have in the public sector that people think otherwise. And what you need is that leadership first to identify them and work together on a team basis to deliver on objective by objective.
I see.
So that I'm enjoying that.
So GRA has two units, right? Two main branches.
Yeah. Three main divisions, but 2 are revenue focus, and 1 is the back office. So domestic, which deals with collecting tax revenue from domestic operations, and then we have the customs, who deals with collecting taxes from the import and trade, and also they also act as a preventive arm of the authority. And the third one is what typically we may call the administration or the back office. So they are not revenue focused.
So you have 2 commissioners working under you?
3 commissioners.
3.
Each of these divisions is headed by a commissioner.
So there's a commissioner for customs, who is Aaron Kano.
Aaron Kano, then commissioner for domestic tax, which is Martin Yamborija, and then commissioner for support services, which is Honorable Dr. Adumako Mensah.
Okay. So when you left the private sector into the public sector, a lot of people in the system would see you as an outsider. How did you deal with that? Because now you've done 15 months and the noise has gone down.
Yeah.
So clearly you found a way of being accepted. What was it like coming in from a private sector, particularly from the big four, one of the big four, to work straight for a state agency?
So one of the differences you have in the private sector, you have a flat structure.
Okay.
And you could give instructions right away to the middle level and to be done. In the public sector, you have to follow the hierarchical structure. Otherwise, you destroy the institution. And in doing so, sometimes you may not be able to identify all the good people below you if you are going through the structure. But the clear things, one of the things we've introduced is what we call the stack connect, which traditionally people may call it a DEBA,
okay,
which gives opportunity for our young people, call them to come and present.
Okay.
So through that, we're able to identify good people. Again, we've also introduced some kind of leadership training. Through that, you'll be able to identify people and still work with the structure, but you encourage them by giving them opportunities and challenge. And one of the revealing things was that the very young people you have in the private sector, which you believe are good and superlative, are the same young people you have in the public sector. So the key difference is leadership and how you identify their potential, give them the opportunity, direct them, and unleash them to perform.
Can I say the pace of work is slower? Because, for example, at KPMG, you could text a morning show host and say, this topic, I have an input, or I want to have an interview. And they will just say, yes, let's do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
In this new organization, you have to go through the PR division.
Certainly, because it's not
letter.
just only administrative, also by law.
Okay.
So that's a big difference.
Also, the law enjoins
because there are
you to
certain
work through the
procedures
systems.
that you have to follow by law, which in the public sector is only policies.
Okay.
But here you have the policies and you also have the law. So really, if you want to comply with both, sometimes it's a bit slower than the private. But obviously, the key thing is determining the level of efficiency and how it should go. And if you focus on that, you definitely will do. Because when you miss a step by law, irrespective of the good intentions, you will be judged as not having followed the law. Okay.
So a lot of what has gone under the bridge, and I don't want to revisit dead issues, but I think there's a key question around how people perceive people coming from the big four. When I say the big four of US, I'm talking about PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, Ernst & Young, and possibly Deloitte. You can add PKF. But the point is, you are the people who do audit.
Right.
You do tax, you do advisory, and you do a lot of government work.
Yes.
So even now that you are Commissioner General, these four firms will still do a lot of government work. Some people feel like being a former senior partner with your involvement in KPMG, conflict of interest could arise, divided loyalties as well, in terms of executing the state function at GRA and your previous relationships and interests in KPMG. How do you respond to people who feel that that is not the best for the country?
So sometimes a lot of people mix up these terms and they confuse them.
Okay.
So conflict of interest actually has various components. And the first component is what we call self-interest review. In other words, you are doing something and you now become the supervisor or checker of it. So that is an important thing to ask yourself, okay, was any of these before doing something that I was part and I'm now going to check? So that clearly was not the case when I was actually appointed. The second one is, do I still hold my interests, direct beneficial interest in any of these firms, such that if they do work for GRA and the benefit goes to them, I'm going to benefit from it. So that is direct beneficial interest. Again, this is not the case. The way it works with the Big Four is that nobody owns it perpetuity. When you leave your shareholder with the firm and the people who have left behind. So you have a close cut in terms of direct financial.
So you resign.
you resign completely. Either you resign or retire. Retirement is when you've reached.
So you resigned.
When you resign, you also leave all your financial interests.
So did you retire or resign?
I myself, I retired.
You retired
from KPMG because the intention was once we're coming to public sector, I wasn't going to go back.
So you're not going to go back to KPMG?
No, not at all. I'm not going to go back to KPMG at all. So anything that KPMG is doing, you cannot say I'm going to have a direct financial benefit for which I am interested. But then, of course, there are also rules of engagement in the public sector in terms of, if you look at this government, we have introduced what we call the commitment authorization. Before you make any procurement, the Ministry of Finance has to determine that it's really legitimately and truly in the interest of the institution. And then number two, you go through your board structures depending upon what structures that you have. And in public sector, any meeting that you sit to decide on anything, if there's interest in it, you have to declare before you participate in it. So all these checks and balances are there to ensure that if there are any interest at all, they are taken.
Lastly on that, there's another view that because of the work KPMG did in the SML case, in terms of some of the analysis you did, now that you're Commissioner General, and because SML is now a matter of interest and investigation, you are in a difficult situation because if SML was considered kosher by KPMG, you'll be inclined to defend it because that was your previous work. Or so essentially, it's going to put in it, so you may have to recuse yourself from any discussions on SML. How do you respond to that?
Not exactly. So what people haven't done is look at the depth of the KPMG work as vis-a-vis what came after. And if you look at what KPMG and the OSP did, substantially, if you take your time to compare, there was a major difference. The only difference, my view, came was that in one instance for the downstream, KPMG said there's some value, and OSP said there's zero value. But that opinion was already there. So when those conversations started, if you look at people like Manese, they said there's zero value. If you look at Bryce Simon, he says some value. If you look at a professor from UPS, says some value higher than that of Bright, and KPMG has some value. So those views were even already there. But they clearly, doing that work for me really gave me the opportunity that by the time I hit on the ground, I knew the issue. So the first thing I did was to stop payment to SML. This is something people don't know because I knew the issues and I know in terms of how they were affecting in terms of finances and the recommendations that we made. So up to today when I took over, not one single payment has been made to SML right from January. Long before OSP started its work. Number two, the second action I did was to suspend the services that were in dispute, pending the conclusion of OSP's work. So even by the time OSP was doing its work, the activities were under suspension. So no payment, no suspension. And of course, eventually, when OSP concluded its work and the president gave the directive to terminate, you have to work on it. But truly, the effect was that payments was not being done, suspension has been done. So the effective termination, you can say, was already in place even before it was taken. So I will say that actually helped me that instead of spending time to understand the issues, I knew exactly what to do by the time I took over. Some
may say that your work so far may have encouraged the president to nominate Pamela, I forget her surname now.
Pamela Jamra.
Jamra from EY. She was also a senior partner, Ernst & Young, as the Auditor General. I'm not sure if you are the first person from the Big Four to have moved into direct government work like this. Certainly under the Mahama government, you are. And so it looks like your tenure has encouraged him to nominate. Who is somebody you know as well?
Yes, very well. Very well, yes.
Is it good for us to be having people from, because you people do audit, you do tax, you do advisory, and then you do a number of things. And you work closely with government. So some people may say, well, if you've been appointed, Pamela has been appointed. If I'm also head of Deloitte, I should be thinking of a government job now. So then it's almost like it's the promotion. So it's like you've set an interesting precedent. So your friends at PwC and Deloitte may also be thinking, hey, what do I need to do to catch the eye of the president? Well, is it generally a positive thing?
I think it's a positive thing. So you've worked, like in my case, I've worked in the private sector almost 30 years. And during that period, had opportunity to advise government on a number of areas, particularly also in my area, taxation.
Okay.
So now you have the opportunity to say some of the things that you have advised government on, come and be in the helm of affairs and lead in the execution. Of course, we all know execution is different from advice, but truly, it gives you opportunity to bring a true outside view into leading government institutions. And for every institution, whether private or public, sometimes the infusion of new resources, infusion of new ideas, bring some reforms that actually changes the paradigm of those institutions. So I believe that it's a good thing that this government is doing, that is taking experienced hands, either from the public sector or the private sector, and joining government to ensure that government agenda can be prosecuted.
I see. So first year, I think in 2025, your target for revenue was 200 billion.
Yeah, so that was the self-imposed, but the actual budget was 189.
So you gave yourself a 200,
200, yes.
And the self-imposed 189. How much did you raise in 200?
So eventually the actual realization was 182 billion, which is about 96%.
7 billion short.
7 billion short of the target. And the part of it, we said that was a big push from 96, and there was also a growth from growth point of view of about 19%, which is a good sign that even though you do 96%, we're also growing on a higher base. And we all know that 2025 was a difficult one, the economic reset. And we say that the cedi had depreciated, and we have factored that in. However, when we decided to reset the economy for cedi to appreciate, there are certain tax revenue areas which are denominated in dollars. One, all our import-based revenue are denominated in USD, and then also for mining are also denominated in USD. So once the cedi appreciated, in cedi terms, you see so
these were the FX effects?
FX, partly part of the FX effect. But the other ones are also structural. We know that the revenue has potential. So even though the FX is a temporary one that we put it, we still took strong measures to make sure that going forward, we are able to either open up certain areas to collect the revenue or block the leakages. And that's what we've spent a lot of our time of the 15 months.
So this 182 billion you made last year, do you know the
divisional distribution?
Yes.
So on the average, we work with about 70% for domestic.
Okay, 70% domestic.
And 30% for custom. But this is the average expectation. But in the end, domestic was about 35 and customs about 25 in actual numbers.
No, go through that again.
So the normal expectation is for domestic to have contribute 70% of the revenue target and customs 30%. In terms of 2025, domestic did close to about 35% and customs did about 25%.
But then that doesn't add up, because if 70-30,
yes,
and you are saying domestic did 35.
Oh, in terms of the, domestic, the 75.
75, correct.
75, and this is 25, yes.
So, and the customs could be because of the FX effect?
SF effect, but we also know that there are structural issues. That's why we are
generally which is why we'll come to
certain areas.
And this 70-30, is that a general trend over the past decade?
Over the past, we believe that if you look at, because customs has two major fronts. The preventive arm, so you have officers who are not revenue focused, and you have officers who are revenue focused. So we normally say, okay, let them deliver 30% of the revenue.
But this 70 we usually get from domestic.
Yes.
Do you know the difference between direct and indirect?
Yes. So you're asking the taxman, so I know.
Yes, please. So viewers will be on the same page with
the
us
same page
before we
with us.
proceed.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me take a moment to explain the various types of tax. So in our domestic revenue, this is the taxes that we collect by doing business activity in country. So there are the two major blocks is what we call the VAT, which is income on consumption. So as we consume or buy goods and services, we pay the tax. And that, we call it an indirect tax because you get it by consuming. Then the direct tax is income on profits when you have run a business, personal income when you have done an employment, or income from investment when you've done an investment. So there are various categories of blocks under any of these, particularly the investment types, but I'll put it in a nutshell. This is the direct component of the domestic tax as well.
Interesting. Let's wrap up with the VAT changes.
Yeah.
So VAT will be the most important component of your domestic.
Yes.
And you did an adjustment that reduced it by around 1.5%.
Almost 2%. Yes.
Yeah. Some people feel like the effect of that on final prices has been very small. Although you did tell us that companies have saved about 6.5 billion from that. It doesn't seem as though they've translated that to consumers. What's your analysis of that? Have you done an analysis of that, the pass-through effect of that?
So I think the major reforms that we did on the VAT, one is the regulatory side. We had a VAT law which was 10 years over, and therefore we needed to do a significant overhaul, working with our sector Ministry of Finance, who actually is in charge of policy. So in terms of the regulatory change, this is something we do with them, or they lead it with our advice, because we implement and they come with the policy. So some of the major ones was effectively we're running on a VAT which had effective rate of 21.9, and the adjustment that we did brought it to 20. So effectively almost 1.9, or on the average 2%. But then there was also the issue about what we call the cascading effect. Within the VAT structure, and within this 21.9, there was a 6% which was cost to businesses. So you couldn't, the way VAT works is that you pay, you put it on value, and you take a claim for your input. There's a 6% in the 21.6, which we call the cascading effect, which means tax on tax, which businesses couldn't claim. So by removing it, it means it's a reduction or savings to businesses, and ultimately a boost to their profits. So that is part of the 6 billion estimate that we believe that will go to businesses, on top of the removal of the COVID levy, which is 1%. So when you look at it purely on nominal terms as 2%, it is more.
I see.
Because there was an indirect effect, an unseen impact that you will not see it on the face of it. But also importantly is the small businesses. Those businesses with turnover of 200,000 were then exempt from charging VAT. In this reform, we raised it to 750, so that small businesses with a turnover up to 750 is now not obliged to charge VAT. So that allows them to be able to run and operate without having the complexity of keeping a VAT books or not. So I'll say this is just the first component of the reform.
So there's more reform
in this
coming.
2026, in the 2026 budget, the minister already announced, we have what we call the Fiscal and Electronic Devices Act, which we passed in 2028. It is meant to automate VAT collection. And we haven't done it since we passed the law. So part of the reforms we are doing this year is to automate the collection of VAT. What it will mean is that every business will be using mandatorily a device that will allow VAT collection. And that also gives GRA the opportunity that every transaction taking place in the country, as soon as it takes place, GRA will see. The reason is that once a business sales is another's cost. And in the end, it will help us to determine the true profits of domestic operations.
I'll come to technology and deal with Publican AI. Just a final point before we go on this break. 20% excise duty on natural juices was considered a blow to health, jobs, and the 24-hour economy because they say excise duties are usually on tobacco, on hard liquor, and essentially like a sin tax. But to apply a 20% excise tax on natural fruit juice is wrong. I don't know if 2026 we still maintain this or it's been removed.
So that's something I need to get back on. I'm not fully updated on that.
Because I did hear some Fabag and Co complain that 20% excise duty on natural juices, so like a kumfi juice and those type of juices, it's not right because it's in the value chain of pineapples and stuff like this. So you can apply it to tobacco or hard liquor or highly sweetened or harmful products. But natural fruit juices, 100% fruit juice should not be paying 20% excise duty.
Yeah, I need to come back. I think some of the matters people raised was the making, for example, VAT flat 20, which previously that was also one of the things we changed in VAT. So if you were in real estate, it was 5%.
All right.
And if you were a small business that you couldn't account for 3%. In this reform, and you couldn't deduct your input. So invariably your input was your cost. In this reform, we brought everyone to 20%, but also mandatorily make sure that you can claim your input VAT. But we believe when you work out the mechanics, it's in the best interest of businesses.
This is the point of view. My guest is the Commissioner General of GRA, Anthony Sarpong. When we come back, we'll deal with Publican. Very controversial. This afternoon, the Ghana Shippers Authority met with Guta, who agreed to suspend their intended strike action until the Minister for Transport returns. It's a very controversial issue. A lot of groups have opposed it. They say it's giving fantastic figures and it's going to destroy the import sector. He will deal with why the publican system is important and we'll deal with other matters. Stay with us.
Line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo kendini ehu behia se metwa sapapadia to ama me manfo Kale Charcoal's natural ingredients eno bom se ho ban e ma ne sren ne sanso mama hotoso e wo bedwam.
Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kale Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kale, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Every dream starts with a prayer. And every prayer ends with a promise. At Blue Financial Services. Financial Services.
Welcome back. So if you've been following the news in the past week, the freight forwarders and another group calling themselves the trade associations at the port have vehemently opposed the introduction of an AI-assisted system known as Publican, which the GRA introduced to help customs officials, particularly in valuation. So what was Publican meant to solve? Have you been surprised by the pushback from sector players? And what are you going to do to resolve their concerns?
Yeah, thank you very much. So before I go straight into Publican, just to give set a few context. One, in the customs area, which is one of the areas we collect revenue, there are three elements that are very, very important in determining a fair and equitable taxes, either from the point of view of government or the point of view of the importer.
Good.
The first one is country of origin. Because the country of origin impacts the freight that is charged on goods. And in Ghana, freight is a component of the value that we apply taxes on. So if you don't get the country of origin correct, it means that freight...
Because different countries attract different taxes.
Different taxes and freights.
Good.
The second one is classification. For every product that is manufactured in every country, there's a specific unique code that is given to it. And that unique code allows customs to know the exact description and what taxes to apply.
So if I put a container with cars and I add toilet rolls and I just say it's a car, you may charge the car, but the toilet roll you will not see.
You will not see it. So, and
I may describe toilet roll as diapers.
Diapers.
Which has
and
a different...
that will change a different, the taxes that you apply. So even for rice, you may have full grain rice, broken rice. They have different...
So the classification is critical to even the valuation.
Valuation,
Very
yes.
good.
So once you classify correctly, then the next one is the valuation. The valuation, the first principle is transaction value.
Correct.
How much the importer or the businessman actually bought it. The issue here then is when the importer say, I bought a pen or this ink for X an amount, how does the government that has an interest in using the value to determine tax also know that...
You can't use the invoice?
So, of course, this is the invoice from the importer's point of view.
You don't have an independent way of checking.
This is where the publican is coming from.
Correct.
So, government must vet and know that indeed what you are saying you bought it, the price is actually it is. So, over the years, we've used various mechanisms to try to understand the value. So, in the past, you've heard about benchmark values.
Yes.
So because government cannot vet all invoices and different sources, government comes out with a range of prices and say, well, if you bring this product, we believe your price must be around this. If you bring this. So that's not an accurate, fully accurate one. Then you have transaction reference price list. Again, that's another tool that helps us to be able to do. And but technology has evolved such that now we're able to use technology to go into the country or even the city where the importer claims they bought the item. Because what happens in trade, World Council of World Customs Organization is that anytime you are exporting, mandatorily, you build that information to a database. So from the country of origin, we should be able to know who is selling to the importer, how much they are selling it to. So what the publican is doing is a vetting tool. One, to help us confirm that indeed, when you said you bought an item from China, indeed it's from China. Number two, the classification that you have given to the product is accurate classification. And number three, to give us a sense of the price at which those items are bought in the country where the goods are coming from. Hitherto, we've used our human resources and discretion to analyze and find this. But of course, when human beings is looking at tons and volumes of data, of course...
So you want to help the customs officer?
Yes, actually. So the publican actually, we say, is a complementary or decision-making tool. It does the research for the custom officer in these three broad areas: country of origin, classification, and valuation, and give the information to the custom officer to say, well, use this information to do your work, something that you would have done it yourself, and you take time or you may miss something.
Some of the
give it to you.
freight forwarders said, according to WCO,
World Customs Organization,
and some to an extent WTO, you are to use only the invoice in valuation.
Yes.
So they believe that in bringing another tool, you are violating WCO rules.
Yeah, so this is one part of the story. That's why I said the technical term is transaction price. What they don't tell us is that within our laws and the same World Customs Organization, that the government that is collecting the tax also must deploy all risk management tools to validate what the importer has presented.
Correct.
So it works on a self-assessment regime. The importer will present to government and say, this is the item I'm bringing, this is the price I bought it. But the same rules allow government to say, indeed, this item that you are bringing, is it truly the item that you have described? And number two, is it the price at which you bought it? So government then has an obligation to vet and ensure that using all risk management tools available to it, to vet that what the importer is self-declaring is actually an accurate self-declaration.
Two questions. People are concerned about delays. Does this make the process of valuation, classification, and clearance quicker? That's question one. Question two, what is the financial size of the problem you are trying to solve as against the cost of this system? When you do a cost benefit, are we getting more money for this process? So let's deal with those two issues.
So the first one, which is it quicker? Our response is yes. So
all
today,
times,
all times, because in the past, because it was heavily human dependent, when an importer submit all the information and say ready to go, it took our people not less than 2 hours to be able to do this research. Because
per transaction,
per declaration or per transaction.
Are you serious?
Yes, because you see, the human being had to use different.
But we have only 24 hours in a deal. So it means that even if you have 50 customs officers,
yes,
if they do 2 hours per person, how many can you clear in a day?
Yes. So this is where the publican
2 hours?
2 hours, because he has to check whether the country of origin is correct. He has to do all kinds of research, then moves to a team of classification will work on it, then a team of valuers will work on it. So through that process, we say not less than 2 hours.
Wow.
What a publican gives us is a publican reduces the 2 hours to 5 minutes.
You are serious?
5 minutes.
Is this not internet dependent?
No, it's internet dependent, but we've made sure
5 minutes.
5 minutes, all this research which was done by the customer officer in 2 hours, publican does it.
Is publican being used only at Tema, or is in Takrady, Aflao, Akanu, and all those places?
We've deployed it nationwide.
Is the internet at Akanu good enough for him to work in 5 minutes?
Yes, definitely. So when you do, we've been using ICOMS for over 5 years, and it's internet based. So all declarations are not made manual; they are made on.
And you're saying at all entry points where you are deploying publican,
yes,
it takes 5 minutes on average.
So this is what happens. So the declarations are made in ICOMS, and ICOMS is already deployed across all.
ICOMS is the system,
the platform, the customs platform, which warehouses all data and key information.
So what is the publican then?
So the publican picks the information, which previously the individuals will pick, do a research with different tools and not manually. So the publican now, assisting the officer, picks the same information, analyze it in 5 minutes and generate a report.
So the publican is a separate platform?
We'll say a tool or a system.
An AI tool, so I'm trying to understand.
Tool,
so
yes.
the customs officer will take the input from ICOMS as a prompt into publican. And based on the prompt, publican will give it a range.
Yes. So we've configured the publican such that there's no human interference.
Oh, so it's a direct?
It's a direct. So once you put the information on ICOMS, and
publican will pull it.
Agent says, I've completed all my information, start your work, customs officer. Publican will take it, and in 5 minutes, performs the research and analysis and generates a report for the custom officer. So in this report, publican will tell the custom officer, one, country of origin that the importer or agent has completed is correct, or there's something you need to watch.
How will publican know?
So publican has access to a number of databases. So through the country of origin and our past history as well. And the classification is also a codified form. So these have all been programmed into.
So if I put the vehicle VIN, the name of vehicle, Toyota Corolla, I put the VIN number, and I'm saying it's from Amsterdam, and I'm saying it's $20,000 US, and give all those information,
then publican
will say that the value should be between maybe 18 to 25,000.
So I'll come to that. It will first say, you said from Amsterdam, it will tell the customer officer, indeed, this car is manufactured
so it will connect to a database that tells you where
it is coming from.
Amsterdam.
And say it is from Amsterdam. Then you are saying that this type of vehicle, maybe it's Toyota Yaris, indeed it is Toyota Yaris, that's the classification. Then it goes to the valuation. Publican doesn't give you one exact figure. Publican will say, okay, if this is Toyota Yaris, the lowest that it is being sold in Amsterdam is maybe 20,000 USD. The highest that I've seen being sold is 35,000 USD.
So if I say it's 22,000, it will say it's okay.
It's okay because.
But if I say it's 18,000,
then it's a flag it because I've never seen 18,000.
No, maybe I had a good deal.
Yes. So publican is assisting the officer. So at this point, the officer will pick it up and ask the importer to provide additional information to support the 18. Yes. So this is where the officer comes
in. The problem is that our publican is working in 5 minutes to give me and to say my 18,000 is wrong.
Yes.
Will publican allow the importer to provide extra information there and then, or it will have to be an appeal?
No, the officer will have to do. Remember that the sequence of flow. Previously, what publican is doing, the officer will do it in 2 hours, and now go to the importer, assuming
up and down,
and do it. Now, publican does it in 5 minutes. So the officer picks the 18, and now immediately will have to interface with the importer.
And say your 18 is not working.
Your 18 is not working. So there's a screen on ICOMS
which says it's 22 at least.
So can you provide more information as to why
it should be 18?
It should be 18, not 22. So
if I can't provide information, I have to pay based on 22.
If the importer or the agent believes that my 18 is still correct, this is when the importer can escalate beyond the officer.
Now the problem they are saying is that that situation, if it occurred at a land border, you guys have centralized the appeal system. So I have to come to TEMA to resolve it. That's a claim they make.
So that is again inaccurate information.
So clarify that.
So this process of appeal existed before publican.
Good.
It is not publican that is bringing
so all
appeal.
Appeals on valuation and classification
existed before.
And it's all centralized.
Remember that before publican, we would do the same and try to vet. So when there was a dispute between what the importer and agent has against the officer, they will go through an appeal process. So the appeal process is already there. So all that is doing is that it allows our officer to even move to appeal quicker, because now your assessment is faster.
Wouldn't it be nice for the appeal to be in the same area where the dispute occurs?
We are not making the appeal manual. You know, the way our trade system is, the ICOMS is the platform. When you say single window, it means that everybody, the officers work, the import and agents information on the same platform. When the officers work, also on the same platform. So these things that we are talking about is not like I'm in a canoe and somebody's in Accra, so we need to meet. And indeed, this is one of the things we are trying to solve, that avoid the human discretion. Everybody work on the system, put your information. So the same way the declaration is on the system, publican and the officer work on it. They'll give their feedback on the system. If you are also challenging it, you give a feedback on the system, the appeal works. So actually, this issue about, because we are centralizing people, and the real centralization is really to bring standardization.
We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll let you deal with the cost-benefit issue. And then if I have time, we'll talk about transit goods and the ban of import through our land borders. This is the point of view with Commissioner General of GRA. Stay with us.
Welcome to Malcolm, where shopping is a musical experience for all generations. Grannies, let's roll it back.
Malcolm got now we did for you. Malcolm's got it all for me and you. Sizzling discounts, we tear up by a distance. Bring back home the experience we did for you. Life made so easy peasy, lemon squeezy, shopping made easy. Sometimes money day, sometimes some way out of pocket. We got you where everything, we got it all right here. Malcolm sees it. The price is right.
The price is right.
The price is nice.
The price is nice.
Fresh with the vibes, unbeatable. If the price they fight,
if the price they fight.
Come for the views.
Come for the views.
Come for the likes.
Come for the likes.
Everything you they want under one roof. Even come for the ride.
Oh yeah, come for the ride.
Number one stop shop, number one. Your number one stop shop, Malcolm. Your number one stop shop, number one. Your number one stop shop, Malcolm. Malcolm got now we did for you. Malcolm's got it all for me and you.
No matter the generation you belong to, Malcolm is where Ghana shops.
Bring back home the experience we did for you.
Bring home the experience.
Good morning, Raquel. Fresh brewed coffee for you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Maya.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But coffee, tea, red wine, those things cause so much stain on our teeth. But I like to tell my patients that cosmetic whitening is a great, safe, effective way to brighten your teeth, like 4 to 6 shades lighter. So it's important to come in, get an assessment on your teeth to make sure you're a good candidate for whitening, because we want to make sure you have a good foundation.
Yes, I definitely agree. Like you said, and it could be done right here at Bethel Dental.
Also like to make sure patients realize you need to get your whitening done by a licensed dentist or a dental hygienist. So that way you can make sure you're getting the correct product, it's safe, you don't get any burning on your gums, you don't get any sensitivity with your teeth. So those things are super important when you're looking for a place to whiten.
Yes, so why wait? Schedule your appointment today.
Healthy smile.
Point of View is still here with the Commissioner General of GRA, Kwasi Sarpong, and we are going through now the controversial Publican AI system. You dealt with the time issue, 5 minutes. The other concern is how much is costing us. They say they don't know who owns the Publican, their track record, and how much we are paying for it. So can you deal with those matters?
Yeah. So before that, let me explain one of the key questions you asked earlier on. So when we took office last year, we did a 5-year review in terms of potential for realizing our revenue. And then we did find out that close to about 83 billion funds leave this country, supposedly for importation of goods.
83 or 33?
83
billion cedis.
USD. But we found out that goods worth about 31 billion USD that really came through that period, which means that there's a gap in terms of people sending money away, either for value that they pay, but we have under declaration here, or for something else.
Correct.
Then the second one, we then looked at if this was the value that we should have received money, how much revenue that would have lost. And we estimated that to be over 11 billion USD. Then we said, okay, in that case, we really need to increase the vetting accuracy of invoices that comes in. And since the commencement of Publican, we are seeing that for every declaration that is made, about 75% Publican says is generally okay. About 25% Publican says less watches. Within that context, we are seeing an average uptick of revenue potential that we couldn't have seen of about 3 million USD a day on the average. That translates to almost 1 billion a month.
From which period is this?
So for the month of February, we deployed Publican without
as a pilot.
We've done the pilot, okay.
So between February, you deployed Publican
fully to cover
all
all
and you realized that you were earning 3 million.
If you have deployed it from day one, we would have earned 3 million USD a day.
Is it?
But we didn't, the public was not aware, but every declaration that was being made.
The difference between how much was being declared
and how much Publican was telling ought to be.
So this 25% was also $3 million a day.
Yes.
Since you started deploying it on 11th March,
yes.
Have those figures been confirmed?
Yes, in fact, we are even seeing higher.
Really?
Yes, we are even seeing higher. So it's just really telling us that government was being shortchanged in terms of valuation that was being vetted. And the reason is that, of course, we were heavily human dependent.
Yeah.
There was heavy human discretion, and therefore you may not see all of it, or things could happen because of collision.
So it's $3 million a day more.
Yes. That's
but
what
how much are we paying for the system?
How much we are paying for the system, I think because of contract confidentiality, but I can easily tell you that it's way in terms. That's why government is not even in a hurry to charge anybody. Well, that's one of the things the importers have raised.
So who is paying for the system?
Government is paying because we realize that this will give us more money, and it is cost
value. Did you put it to tender?
In terms
Did you
of
put the
that.
AI system to tender?
So in fact, this is one of the procurements we went heavily, the most transparent. We went through Parliament, and we know in this country, Parliament has the representation of the people, the highest form of scrutiny if we want to have a contract. So once we did a pilot and realized that it will work, we now took it through Parliament to demonstrate to them how this will work, and Parliament approved it for us to select these people to do the work.
So now that you have deployed the system, can you calculate exactly how much you've earned in total, say in March? Because you deployed it on 11th March.
March, yes.
Today is April 13. So you've deployed it for at least a month.
Yes. So one of the things that we've just done over the weekend was to look at the 3 weeks revenue of customs before deployment of Publican and 3 weeks after. And the result is revealing. 3 weeks before Publican, the average revenue was about 2.4 billion. And 3 weeks after Publican, we are making 3.6, an increment of
2.4 billion per what?
For the period, for the 3 weeks.
So you've increased.
And 3 weeks after, we are doing 3.6, so increment of about...
Which attributable to valuation?
Valuation issues, yeah. So now, immediately we are starting to see...
You are setting your questions and answering them, so we don't have all that information, but no problem. So what if I said to you that you may make initial gains, but if importers decide that it's costing them too much to bring goods in, they're not going to bring in any more goods, you don't have any revenue. You can't force people to import. So whatever you design, your revenue is based on importers being in business.
Right.
So if the import business is not lucrative, I'll stop importing and go and farm. Or I'll stop importing and go and be a pastor.
Yes.
You are going to lose money. So if you keep deploying a system that makes importers feel that it's too expensive to bring goods in, you will pay for it eventually with fewer imports.
So we don't believe so, because if you look at the products that are coming to the country, some are elastic, some are inelastic. Majority are inelastic. The population will feed. We are bringing in food items, we are bringing in drinks items, we are bringing in vehicles. So these are not things that you easily switch so long as we have population. So we don't believe that this is actually going to do. But the other one is also potential. Can people smuggle? So again, we are dealing with the smuggling aspect from the land borders and ensuring that even if you decide to go through other country borders, you still have to penetrate by coming inside, and we'll make sure that we are putting the structures.
Let's talk about land.
But overall, if I've already also mentioned that 75%, the Publicans is green.
It's fine.
So this 75% chunk, which is a majority of the imports, Publican is not saying. So it's really focusing our attention on this.
In February or sometime early March, you banned the land transit of a number of products: sugar, rice, flour,
spaghetti,
textiles. Was that because your land borders don't have the same level of security as the seaport?
Yeah. So basically, for transit, because they are going to another country.
Oh, so this was just for transit?
Transit.
Not final entry?
No, not final entry.
Oh, I thought it was because Papa wanted you to do it for home.
For home consumption, you can bring it in. But for transit, the taxes are due payable to the other country, which is the final destination. What we were finding was that people will bring these goods as a transit and won't pay any taxes, and then they say...
hence the interdiction of 5 customs officers over transit cargo meant for Niger.
Yes.
So you can... because I heard Fabak say that you should actually ban the land import of all those products.
Maybe this is what people were wishing, but we're saying if we are bringing in for consumption, because mind you, we do have our businesses that may enter to go Ivory Coast and bring something.
So if you ban the land,
so it is for transit.
Just for transit.
It's problematic for those businesses. So it's actually for transit. We are saying if you want to use our jurisdiction to move to another country, bring the goods through the seaport.
So 18 trucks, 6 were missing. Yes. Ghana Link says no truck was missing. A whole back and forth. A couple of things. You didn't mention the name of the customs officials interdicted. Initially, you didn't mention the name of the company involved. Yeah. It seemed to us as if you were trying to protect somebody.
Not at all. Again, this is a government who says I'm resetting. And resetting means that you play by the rules. And Ghana, what does our rules say? You are presumed innocent until proven guilty. We have said that we're going to do investigation. So if you go ahead mentioning names and you prejudge them and people have perception upon them, and if it turns out in the unlikely event that it's not the people that you should charge, you would have...
It's been over a month now. So have the 5 people who were interdicted been found to have been guilty?
Yeah. We've completed the entire investigation of the matter, including investigating the business involved, including investigating our officers, and we are going through the necessary decision making to deal with the
Has the
matter.
business admitted fault and made a payment to government?
Not yet, because what we've taken, one of the decisions we took in this matter is that we're going to confiscate. Confiscation is higher than paying the taxes and goes a higher punitive. So eventually we announced it early that once we found it culpable, we're going to
But why don't you give the company to the authorities since it's a criminal offense?
Yeah, we'll go through all those processes, but again, GRA's mandate is to do the investigation, and those other ones will be.
But you seem hesitant in naming the organization.
Because again, we are still going through the final process.
But if you catch a good thief, you don't wait for.
I don't catch a good.
But
thief.
you have some powers from the AG to prosecute.
Yes.
Some of AG's powers have been given to customs.
GRA, not necessarily in this sense, because you remember that it's also a cross-border transaction that we are dealing with. But the key point is that we are following due process, and whether our officers or the importers will apply the full rigors of our law to deal with the matter.
When you meet this is my last question, the importers and the trade forwarders, when the Minister of Transport comes back, are you going to make any concessions to them? Because from what I heard, they are meeting with Jampu, they have suspended the strike pending a final meeting. Obviously, you have to negotiate.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I call the freight forwarders and the importers partners in development. We are all building the nation, except that GR has a mandate to collect revenue, and they have the mandate to do their legitimate business and follow the rules. And we believe that, and these are groups that we have had long association of partnership with, start today. So we already have started some engagement with them. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we met them and we've agreed on a joint working technical team, which this week we are going to meet. The whole idea is to pick the issues and resolve. For instance, when we started, when a customer officer sees an error, we typically ask them to correct. We realized that was a challenge for them. We've changed the rule and we are supporting them to do the correction. So many other ways we want to work with them. But the key thing is that it is clear that the state is losing revenue. And this system is helping us. Whichever way that we need to work with them to ensure that their interests are protected, and at the same time the state interest is protected to raise the necessary revenue for national development. That is the call that we are asking them to do. But we are open to work with them and ensure that any teething problems are resolved. And that is the way to go.
Anthony Sarpong, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck in your next year. Anthony Sarpong is the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. We've been speaking about his tenure, 15 months in office, Ghana's domestic and customs tax revenue effort, and the controversial Publican, which now waters have calmed a bit. Hopefully, by end of week, we'll get more clarity on that matter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.